Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. Today is February 4th, 2016, and I am your host, Jerome Gray. Today we are spending time with Easy Peasy and the owners Eric and Tracy Rankin. How are you today?
Doing really good, thank you.
Good, good. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing us to come into your wonderful bakery. It's really hard to be here at this time, but we do have business to take care of. So I'm going to get right into it. First of all, Easy Peasy. Tracy, how did we come up with the name Easy Peasy?
Because I wanted dessert and just dinner and food in general to be easy peasy for everybody. So that's how I came up with it.
Okay, all right. Well, Eric and Tracy, I want to spend some time discussing the business of baking. Over the last 6 or 7 years, there's been a number of mom and pop shops that have popped up. People have started out in their homes, started baking, and then they decide to all of a sudden, open up a storefront. You too, a couple years ago, opened up a storefront. With the number of shops that have opened up, what can you share about your story and how you opened up?
Well, we started out at the farmer's market every Saturday, and it kind of went from there. We just took a few hundred cupcakes out one Saturday, and the next time we took more, and the next more, and we sold out every time until people wanted us to do weddings and birthdays, and it was too difficult to take as much as we needed out there. So here we are.
Okay. Eric, entrepreneurs to me are interesting people. I like to refer to them as eagles. Eagles like to fly alone. They take charge. And so tell me about your background before you actually got into establishing the bakery.
Well, Tracy has been a chef for coming up on 30 years, so she actually is the food genius end of it. My background is in filmmaking. I'm a screenwriter, and I also managed properties professionally for a number of years. So, like a lot of good liberal arts majors, I've done a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. But each position that I was in added something that I could bring to the business that we have today.
Okay. Tracy, you have a very interesting background. You mix, let's just say, science with baking. And quite frankly, I think you can say that baking is science.
It is.
But you take it to a whole other level. Tell me about what you bring to the table with the baking and your product.
Oh my goodness. I have a degree in not just any science, but forensic chemistry, and actually the chemistry end of it helps me a lot with what I do.
And baking is all about chemistry.
Yeah.
And ratios and the ability to know what chemicals interact, or flavors, aspects, acids, and more base ingredients.
It's just been extremely helpful in learning, knowing what I can add, what I can't add. It's almost as though I know how it's going to taste before.
All right, but here's the thing: your baking is cute. It's exotic. There's talk about how you come up with these ideas. It just when you see your bakery, it's like.
Everything that I bake comes from an experience that I've had, a place I've gone, something I've done, a drink I've had. Really, wouldn't you say it? It's
and it's kind of a game for us too.
Yeah.
Where we'll come across something and we'll say, how would you make that as a cupcake? and we'll kick the ideas back and forth.
Or not just a cupcake, but any of the desserts that we, any of the pastries that we make, anything like that, where it's something, it's an experience.
Okay. So you can honestly say your products take on a character of their own.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the business of baking. As you well know, baking out of the house, it can it mixes in family and business.
Yes.
But now that you're in the storefront, you're taking on more expenses, you're taking on employees. Let's talk about how you had to mix in financial statements along with, all the way from, how much butter you use and how much eggs you crack.
Right. Go ahead.
Right. I think the biggest difference is a matter of scale. When
Yeah.
you're baking out of your house, you can think about your food expenses, and it's like a bag of flour, a couple of pounds of butter, whatever. But when you expand it out to you're baking several hundred cupcakes a day, plus half a dozen other desserts, plus the orders that you have coming in, you really have to predict what you're going to be needing, and you have to balance it off against what's your rent and what's your personnel cost and all of that. So it's just a lot more to keep track of, and you have to stay on top of it.
And one other thing is I never paid attention to the commodities market, and now I have it on my phone. It's an app, so because now it matters to me when the dairy and eggs and sugar, and they're always going up and down, and that makes a big difference now. Before, when I was just a home baker, going and getting a couple of dozen eggs didn't really matter to me at the grocery store, but now such a large quantity that we can't purchase from just a grocery store anymore. We purchase from a food company, and the commodities make a big difference now.
Okay. So with that being said, now that you have the business aspect down pat, how do you get the foot traffic in the door?
We didn't want to put a lot of money into marketing, and we wanted
But we did.
but we did, and we made some mistakes along the way.
Yes.
But we've learned a lot as far as marketing goes. Well, as far as everything goes, we've learned a lot. But you have to look around and pay attention. Look at what other people are doing, and for us, a lot of it's word. It's word of mouth. If we do a wedding and everybody there loves the cake, then there's 2 or 3, 4 other brides that are there, and they're like, oh my gosh, we've got to go. And then and I guess another thing is you just have to make sure that you are smart about your marketing, because there's a lot of, on a daily basis, we get people calling and coming in that oh, go with us for, we'll put you out there.
Yep.
And then, and it's
And that's their job,
expensive. And that's their job. And it's expensive, and then we get nothing from it.
Right.
So we kind of have learned now where we need to advertise, where we need to spend our marketing dollars.
Okay.
There's a lot of just attention to detail, even down to when we were looking at having our brick and mortar, where to be, what side of the street to be on, where we're going to get the most traffic.
Parking.
Having good, adequate parking, having adequate, there's just every detail. Any business really needs to pay a lot of attention to who their customers are and where they're going to be, so that they can attract them.
Because we researched this spot when we saw this place here for lease. We researched the traffic, the who would stop. Do we need to be on the right side or the left side of the road? Going into town or coming. What? And you wouldn't think things like that matter, but they really do.
Okay. All right. So that kind of actually leads me into my next question. I was going to ask you to kind of talk about some of the challenges of, overcoming things with that's entailed or engrossed with running a business. But the two of you are married.
Yes.
The two of you have 6 kids, and I like to think of it as the Brady Bunch. For those out there who are thinking that they can't do it, what would you say to them in relation to starting your business as a married couple with a family?
Well, anybody who has 6 kids can do anything.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Ooh, yeah, we also have 2 grandchildren.
That's why I stopped at
throw
2.
them in that. Yeah. I think that when you have a married couple who works together, my parents did it.
Okay.
And both my parents are doctors, and they had private practice together. We're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I think that there's a certain breed of people that can do that. We happen to be, we enjoy being together, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, and it just works for us.
Okay.
And I think that you have to want to do that.
All right.
And I think, the other thing is that when you're talking about balancing family and business life, and both of us being in the same business and all of our eggs basically being in the same basket, it requires a fair amount of the kids too.
Mm-hmm.
They have their responsibilities that they need to do to help out the family, and sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming that this is everything we're doing together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we don't have to answer to anybody else, just to ourselves.
Okay.
And
at the end of the day, you do feed yourself.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we actually,
All right.
yes.
All right.
So,
All right. So, with that being said, it sounds like you were going in that direction of balance. All right.
Mhm.
So, in the spirit of balance, I'm going to ask you first, Eric, and then I'm going to ask you, Tracy. Eric, what do you bring to the table to help balance out this business?
I'm good at the marketing. I'm good at the upfront, the dealing with people, the looking for new opportunities and expanding those. That's really been
The
one of my
operations
background is
of the business.
the operations.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I try to take all of that stuff off of Tracy so that she can do.
So let me just ask Tracy. This is not your question, but as a part of Eric's question, if the butter just doesn't melt right or doesn't mix right, how do you tell the operations manager about? And knowing he's your husband, how do you tell the operations manager that this butter just don't work?
Just like that.
Pretty much.
Just like that.
All right.
I guess the best way to describe our duties together is he's whole front of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm whole back of the house.
Okay.
And we, even though we intermingle, and he'll tell me things that he's doing. I mean, there's a lot of things that he does up front along with our manager that I don't even know they're doing, that
Okay.
they have to do to keep it going daily.
Got it.
And then there's things I'm doing in the back of the house, with my decorator and girls that they don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I'll want to do something and he's like, no, you can't do that because that doesn't budget into what we're doing, or that makes our food costs too high, and we'll kind of argue over that. But then it all
I like to call that intense conversation.
That's right. We have a discussion.
Yes, we have a debate over it's funny because a lot of married couples argue over money, or they argue over kids, or they argue over we argue over whether a dessert can have a little bit less butter or a little.
Okay.
So our arguments are a little bit different.
All right. At the end of the day, there's a compromise, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So, Tracy, 30 years of baking experience, daughter of 2 physicians. That's where the science comes from. where does baking fit into this, and how do you add to the company?
Oh, wow. Well, my dad told me a long time ago that if you find a job you love, you never work again. And I love this.
Okay. All right.
And I'll throw in a little bit here. You know, her part of it is being a food genius. I mean, I say that a lot, and you know, it might be a term that people kind of throw around, but really, the things that you come up with that that they just astound me every day. I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. Now let's figure out how much it costs. Let's figure out what we can do, and you know, how to market it, and those sort of things. So
Alright.
that's kind of how a lot of the partnerships.
Yeah, and another thing is our core crew, which is our manager and our like my head decorator. They are always coming up with really cool things too, and you just have to have a whole team that's committed and that cares about what's going on a daily basis, and it makes such a difference to have a really good crew and people you can depend on.
Okay.
Because even though we did this on a daily basis alone for the first year, you know, we worked 14 hours a day, you know, to get to where we are now with 6 employees, and we're still small, but we want to be small. We don't want to be so big and that it's not
lose
fun
that personal
anymore.
touch.
Okay. So my last question, and it's going to be a loaded question, but so, you know, the whole thing of baking, food in general, food has taken on a whole new level of exposure from your TV Food Networks to, you know, just overall health perspective. So, you know, you can't put labels on your cupcakes, but food has come down to that now.
Right.
And with that being said, you know, talk about your array of product, who you serve, and all the services that you offer.
Well, we have plenty of desserts available that are just full of gluten and sugar and all the good stuff. And then we have, it took about a year, but we came up with a really good gluten-free recipe. And we're number 1 on the Find Me gluten-free for Greensboro. You know, one of the apps that, you know, which we didn't even know we were number 1 on it until somebody came in and told us.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I'll do, you know, sugar-free and vegan. It's everybody now has almost become a foodie.
Okay.
You know, and we constantly have people in here that want to take pictures, and they take pictures of it after they bite into it, and they're taking pictures of who they bring with them while they're eating it. And it's just, food has become such a huge part of everybody's daily. You know, before it was just, okay, we're just going to eat, we'll grab some cookies, you know, now it's become like this huge outing to go to dinner, to go for dessert. It's really become a part of
And I think in the last few years, there's been a movement towards more artisanal food.
Okay.
You know, certain large companies that have been mainstays for half a century are now losing money because they're still producing food in a way and marketing in a way that was fine for the 1960s and 70s, but it's not what people want today. People are going for basically closer to source food.
farm to fork.
Farm to
Okay.
fork.
And-
And all of our products are made here by hand. And that's another thing that people are really appreciative of now. They want real food. They don't want what's convenient or necessarily what's cheap. They want real food, and they're willing to pay.
Yeah, like you know, when I was growing up, it was really cool to go to a drive-through. That was like a big thing, you know. Ooh, McDonald's. Now they're wanting that gourmet burger. you know, and to sit down and to really get into what they're eating, and you know, times have changed. And